Porsche didn't invent the concept of a sporty SUV, but when the performance-dedicated automaker decided to venture into the uncharted territory of sport utility and four doors, the world took notice. It's safe to say that the Porsche Cayenne was a success, so much so that SUV-adverse brands like Rolls-Royce and even Lamborghini are getting in on the action. For 2019, the Porsche Cayenne begins its third generation with a leaner look and a new bag of tricks that further blur the line between utility vehicle and sports car. There are three levels of spiciness to this Cayenne. It starts with a 340 horsepower V6 turbo base model, followed by a 440 HP twin-turbo V6 Cayenne S, and heats things up to the Cayenne Turbo, which houses a twin-turbo V8 producing 550 HP. In true Porsche fashion, the new Cayenne's exterior tweaks are subtle yet significant. The Turbo now visually distinguishes itself with one uniform grin across the front fascia. Further styling adjustments, like a light strip in the rear, are meant to bring the SUV more in line with the styling of the current 911 models. Beyond these more superficial changes, the latest Cayenne adopts a few clever tricks to improve both its performance and versatility. New to the Cayenne is rear axle steering, a technology it inherited from the 911. The rear wheels will turn slightly in relation to the front wheels for added stability and handling. It virtually shortens or elongates the wheelbase depending on what the situation demands, which gives the SUV more of a car-like footprint in relation to handling. Porsche has developed a 3-chamber air suspension for the Cayenne, and the significance of this is a huge breadth of spring rates. Having 3 air chambers for each spring strut rather than one means the Cayenne can quickly adapt to road conditions when more stability is needed. Also debuting here is the Porsche surface-coated brake, a set of discs covered in tungsten carbide. Along with improved responsiveness, the coated brakes have a 30% longer service life and produce less brake dust. The center dashboard is dominated by the 12.3-inch Porsche Control Management or PCM, which is the interface for all the car's functions, from entertainment to the myriad configuration settings. This works in tandem with 2 digital displays that sit on either side of the gauge cluster, so the driver can have info displayed in front of them. While it works to emulate its sportier Porsche cousins, the Cayenne is still an SUV, so it has a spacious cabin with ample rear cargo space. Helping occupants avoid feeling cooped up is a 2-pane panoramic roof that can open in the front but is fixed in the rear. Crete is a craggy Greek island in the middle of the Mediterranean, which made for an ideal testing ground for the Cayenne. Roads that weren't rough-cut paths were smooth yet windy mountain throughways. This location split the difference between performance and utility, and was primed to pose a challenge for the SUV. To handle off-road situations, the Cayenne has a dedicated setting in the PCM that preps it for what's to come. The air suspension hikes the car up, and wheel rotation is carefully monitored. We took the Cayenne up a path rough enough to prove that it can get dusty without too much concern. On our ascent, the SUV made the rough ride effortless, and even kicked on cameras and sensors to alert us of rocks or outcroppings that were too close for comfort. The Cayenne won't be the ride of choice for the next great expedition into the unknown, but it's nice to know that it can handle the few pavement-free situations any Cayenne owner is likely to encounter. On the road, though, is where the Cayenne really puffs out its chest to show its Porsche badge. The Cayenne S, housing a twin-turbo 2.9-liter V6, has a stellar balance of nimbleness and grunt. The 440 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque is plenty to chuck the roughly 4,450 pound SUV around Cretian corners. The Cayenne's capabilities, however, made us forget we were in an SUV entirely. Curving mountain switchbacks felt like we were piloting a solid performance sedan, and we hardly felt the typical heft of an SUV as we blitzed through turns. This is performance technology coalescing into something magical. You can go down the spec sheet and read off the Cayenne's many features, but it doesn't click until you're behind the wheel. When you're descending into a hairpin turn, you'll find the tungsten-coated brakes slow you more quickly than you thought an SUV could manage. Then you round a corner, hunker down like a sports car, and fire out the other end to the next apex. You have to look over your shoulder to remind yourself there's a whole row of seats and cargo space speeding along behind you. The Cayenne shares other ignominious traits with its brethren. Options. Just about all the great engineering highlights are optional extras. The Cayenne S starts at a base price of around $83,000. But with options that'll have that price vault well over $100,000 with room to spare. The price point was ever present in our minds when we took the Porsche off-road, which sent us down this bizarre logic loop we imagine customers of the Cayenne market must go through. You want a sports car, but you need an SUV, so you get a car that can do both. But then, you spent $130,000 on it, so you wouldn't dare take it off-road, so you don't need a car that can do both. Yet, somewhere in the midst of this very logical argument, you find yourself in a Porsche dealer signing a check. Yet, there's an undeniable lure of an SUV that can outrun many sports coupes. The Cayenne, now as before, is a victory of raw engineering over the limits of reality.